Let's take a look at the 2022 Evangelho. Now, Evangelho Vineyard is located in Contra Costa County, and this particular vineyard is very close to the Delta River. And what that does is it brings some pretty high winds through this vineyard. They funnel right through the Delta, through this vineyard, and throughout Contra Costa. So, windy site. Another interesting thing about Evangelho Vineyard is that it gets quite warm there. In the summer, it can get pretty hot. And then you couple all of this with very unique soils. The soils at Evangelho Vineyard are very sandy. They're comprised of almost entirely sand, which also tends to basically bring on early ripeness. When you have windy conditions, warm weather, and sandy soils on old vines that are dry farmed, they tend to get ripe very quickly. In fact, this is always the very first red lot to come into the winery every year. These are ancient vines, and to kind of paint a picture for you on what this vineyard is like, I really love walking through this vineyard because imagine as if you were walking on a beach and here these ancient vines are popping out of the sand with these giant, gorgeous clusters on them. It's really a beautiful sight. And all of these factors combine to make this beautiful wine. There are 3 varietals in this wine. It's 55% Carignan, 26% Zinfandel, and 19% Mataro. And each of those components is lending a very specific attribute to this wine. And when you taste it, you can kind of pick them out. So, for example, the Carignan is very earthy and kind of meaty. The Zinfandel is lending a beautiful fruit profile, just pure fruit. And then the Mataro has kind of a red, popping, fresh brightness with some spice to it. So all of that creates this wine that has very intense aromatics. It's very layered, a complex aromatic profile. And again, when I taste this wine, I can really kind of almost deconstruct it, tasting each of those varietals and what they're contributing to the wine. What we do is we bring each of these components in one at a time and ferment them separately as their own wine. Now, the reason we do this is not because we don't want to co-ferment them. In fact, I would ultimately like to do that, but they just don't get ripe at the same time. So each varietal, as it ripens, we pick it, bring it in, and ferment it. And then when they're done fermenting, we'll create the blend, and this is what you get. For vinification, we are fermenting these as primary, as native ferments, so native yeasts. And then for malolactic fermentation, which is done in barrel, also all natural native malolactic bacteria. We put this wine to 100% American oak, of which 0% is new. We're using mostly neutral American, meaning 3 to 4 year old barrels, and then a spattering of 1 and 2 year old American barrels in there as well. The reason we're doing this is because we feel that this wine is already complex enough. It really doesn't need any oak nuance to make any more complexity. We're really trying to showcase the fruit and showcase the vineyard, and I think we've succeeded here. Cheers.